Oh, hello. Whoa, here we go. Y'all can come up this way. We're going to get started. I don't know how many more people are gonna show up tonight, but I'll honor the time of the people that are here. So, well, there's nobody operating the camera, so if I'm standing in the right spot, people can see me, but they can hopefully hear me. So I don't even know if we got anybody watching online tonight. But if you are, welcome. In just a few minutes, Cody Nolan will be doing our training tonight. But I want to talk about a couple things first. I want to thank you guys for all your hard work with the tournaments last weekend and all the weather changes. I know we had a bunch of cancellations, and this week has been kind of crazy as well because we've had people have to get out of games that they weren't blocked when I assigned them, and I had everything perfect, and then I had a bunch of people reach out to me and say they couldn't work the games I assigned, and that basically meant that they didn't have their arbiter set up correctly. So please, please, please go into Arbiter if you work a job. A lot of you guys do a great job of it. If you have a job and you can't work from like 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday, tell that to Arbiter, because when I go look, I mean, Jacob Capo is a great example. When I look at Jacob, his schedule shows me when he works every day. I wish he got off work earlier because there are games I would send him to if he got off work a little earlier, but I know when I can send him to games. And so please, if you're watching at home or if you're in here, please take care of that Arbiter for me because it makes my life a whole lot easier. There are going to be some changes for this weekend already. While I was teaching my youth group over there, the Brook Hill coach called me. They've had a JV team COVID out of their tournament today. So if you're in the Brook Hill tournament, if you're at the Brook Hill site of the Brook Hill Rusk JV tournament, it's like a joint tournament, your schedule may change. So I haven't looked at it yet. I just saw that it's a little weird. So that may change. So some stuff may change, and I'll try to get all that taken care of tonight. But before I turn it over to Cody, has anybody had any situations or any plays come up in their games this week that you think we could all benefit from hearing about? Man, it's been an easy week. Well, I know we had one crazy thing happen. What do you got, Greg? Okay, last night, Greg Greenwood and I were working a game at Brook Hill, and it was actually a really good baseball game. We went to extra innings. We played 9 innings in like 2.5 hours. It was kind of fun. It was a really competitive, close game. But late in the game, the score, I think at this point, Van had gone up by 3 runs, so it was 5-2, and we're in the bottom of the 9th at this point, and we've got a couple base runners on. I think the runners on first and second maybe at this point. Were they loaded? Okay, there were multiple base runners, and a pitch came in really close to the batter, and the batter reacted as the pitch hit him, like he took his bat and went to go throw it over towards his dugout, and Greg was working the plate, and Greg wasn't sure what had happened, and I was working the bases, and the defensive coach, of course, gets mad and says, hey, ball didn't hit him. Offensive coach says what? Ball hit him. So we kind of have that. And so Greg wasn't sure. Greg didn't know. The ball, it wasn't one of those where the ball like hits him and falls down. It kind of went by him. And we called time. We got together and talked about it. And from the bases, I heard 2 sounds. I heard a sound as the ball was passing the batter, and then I heard a sound when the ball hit the mitt. And the batter reacted like the ball hit him in his elbow. As it came through, he reacted a little bit, and so we ended up putting him on base. And that one thing that I told Greg's a first-year umpire, one of the things, sometimes your best friend in some of those situations is your ears, because you can hear that extra sound. It's the same thing with a catcher's interference or catcher's obstruction on a swing. You hear that extra click sometimes. You don't always see it, but sometimes our ears, if something doesn't sound right, we can fix it. And we didn't have a replay last night, so who knows if we got it right or not. But the kid behaved like the ball hit him. And I mean, I think the ball hit him. And the coach got all mad. And one thing, he can't argue hit by pitches. So he calmed down. And he actually emailed me today and told us we did a great job. So he wasn't acting like that last night, though. But that was a good one. And I think we got it right. But we got together, we quickly talked about it, and we put him on. So anybody else have something? Tony. Yep. Yeah. Tony, for those of you at home. Okay, Tony's talking about a ball that was hit and went straight down, and he heard a sound that indicated the ball hit the batter on the way down. So sometimes we have to use our ears. Sometimes we can use our partners to help us see those things. Anybody else have anything happen? What'd you have, Nick Navarro? I know y'all had something last night, because I got 5 phone calls last night about it. Why don't you come up here with the mic and explain it, just so I don't have to repeat it. This is a little more in depth. Who was behind the plate? Justin, come on. You were the plate umpire. Come on.
So we had Cumberland and Chapel Hill, and Cumberland beat Chapel Hill in 8 innings, 8-7. Yeah, I mean, it's still hard to believe. And now they're more likely they're going to have to forfeit the game because their starting pitcher threw 122 pitches in 7 innings. So Chapel Hill's coach brought it to our attention going into the bottom of the 7th, and we told him that it's not our jurisdiction there, you know, but they did file a protest or whatever right after the game, so, but it's not our duty to keep up with pitch counts.
If you ever have a pitch count issue in a game, the rule went into effect, I think, in 2017. The National Federation allowed states to have pitch counts. They didn't say in the rule book like what the pitch counts are. They let each state adopt one, and almost every state that uses the Federation rule book adopted a pitch count, and they're all different. And you can Google UIL pitch count regulations, and everything in it, it talks about the rest and all that, but we don't care. We don't care. But one thing it does say over and over again, if you read that, is the district executive committee handles it. So if they have a problem in a game with pitch count, you just tell them, take it up with your district executive committee, and you just umpire the baseball game. You don't force them to remove a pitcher. You don't do any of that. You just call balls and strikes, safes and outs. You don't have to worry about it. If they mess up that rule, it's on them. Technically, the visiting team has to agree to who the official pitch counter is. So, I mean, but that once again, that's not in our jurisdiction. So, kind of weird. Anybody else have anything unique or interesting happen in any of their games? It's always good to learn from stuff that takes place in games. I know we had one game, I think Greg was telling me about this last night. He worked a game where, how many of you have worked a game where they've used the new DH rule? Anybody had a coach use the new DH rule yet this year? There was a game last week, I think, where they were using the new DH rule, and it was a pitcher DH. So the pitcher listed on the line at the end of the game, pitcher DH. So if you got a pitcher DH, what's different about that than a normal game? What are some things that have to be different? No courtesy runners. The pitcher got a hit, got on base, and the assistant coach wanted to have a courtesy runner for the pitcher because he's like, we always have a courtesy runner for the pitcher. It's just what we do in high school baseball. Well, the head coach realized what was going on, and evidently he started screaming, no, 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 no. You can't do that, because if we do that, what happens? What if we bring a runner in for the pitcher there? Yeah, your DH is now gone, and yeah, that kid is now pitching, or he is playing in the spot where that guy was. And the coach at Grace, I'm a popular guy. Somebody's wanting to talk to me. The coach at Grace used to be a college baseball coach, which their DH rule is a little similar to the new one in high school. So he's one of the few that will use that. Any other questions or concerns? We'll just listen to center field play back there. Any other things that have had happen? Well, for me to wrap my time up, then we maybe get out of here quick tonight. I got about 3 things I want to go over. First, if you show up at a game that I've assigned you and there are no teams there, the first thing you need to do is call me. And if I don't answer the phone, just leave me a message or text me. And if you can find anyone that is there, give them a pay sheet. If you show up at a game that we did not know got canceled, you will get your mileage, and you will also get a game fee for showing up, because it's on the coach to tell me the game is canceled. It's a little bit different if you show up to a game and it rains out before it starts, then you would just get mileage. But if the coach neglects to take care of his business, we've had that happen a couple times this year already. All the coaches in question have allowed everything to, they've been fine paying. They haven't complained. So, but if that happens, please let me know so I can reach out to the coach. We've already had it happen twice at one school. So he's on my bad list right now. And another thing, if you would please reach out to your partners. During the tournaments last week, a lot of times when we have tournaments and we have games, I'm on the field like as your games are starting. And sometimes I have my cell phone in my back pocket, and so I can text you back and forth with my watch, or I can, in between innings, I can talk to you. But it makes me a terrible umpire. You can ask Brian when I'm doing that. Like sometimes I stand in the wrong spot, or I don't have a clue what's going on because I'm trying to put out fires. But if you would reach out and talk to your partner before the day of your game, it would solve a whole lot of the issues that we dealt with last weekend. We had a couple of times where a partner was late, or a partner didn't show up, or a partner thought a game was canceled because the first game was canceled and the whole day wasn't canceled. So if you would just focus and look in Arbiter, Arbiter is your best friend, because that's what I use to try to make everything work. I can't keep up with, we have 57 people that paid their state dues this year. I can't keep up with 57 people's schedules. I can't keep up with 40 school schedules in my head. I wish I could. It'd be awesome if I could. But use your partners, use Arbiter. It'll be a huge help to you, and it will also it'll also help me make my job a lot easier, because I don't like having to assign things like 4 times. 3 is my limit. That's when I get frustrated. So, but help me with that. Any questions about games, about assignments, about this weekend? Awesome. Well, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Cody Nolan, and he has some words of wisdom to share with us about some topic tonight.
All right, guys, so Ron couldn't be here tonight, so he asked me to go over obstruction and interference. I'm going to go over it the best I can, just straight from the rule book, all right? And then we'll go over a few things other than that. So first things first, we're going to go over interference. I'm just going to read the definition of it. Offensive interference is an act, physical or verbal. So we can have, it doesn't have to be just a physical contact. It can be also verbal. By the team at bat, which interferes with, obstructs, impedes, hinders, or confuses any fielder attempting to make a play. Those words right there are very important. When a coach comes out and you actually call interference, you need to be able to quote one of those words and say that he hindered him, or he obstructed him, or whatever, and use that so that you can, you're quoting the rule book, all right? And it backs you up. All right. The other part is when a runner creates malicious contact with any fielder, with or without the ball, in or out of the baseline. So malicious contact is interference. All right. Now there's malicious contact, of course, is an immediate dead ball, whereas interference is not. We'll go over umpire interference. Hopefully this never happens to anybody. It's embarrassing, especially when the guy's trying to throw out a runner to go into second base, or a guy into third base. Umpire interference is when inadvertently moves, so to hinder a catcher's attempt to throw, or when a fair ball touches an umpire, or a thrown ball. So if we have, do what? Where what? Oh, yeah. All right, so first off, if we have umpire interference from the plate, just a scenario that we could have is, say we're down there behind the plate, catcher catches the ball, R1 stealing second base, and he goes to throw and retire the runner at second base, and the ball, he goes to throw it, and it hits our mask or whatever, and the ball goes way over there. Well, that's umpire interference. What we're going to do there is just, it's a redo, essentially, send everybody back to where they go, or where they were. Nobody can be put out on it. Now the pitch that came in will count, but we're going to send R1 back to first, and anybody else who tried to advance on that. On a batted ball where we have umpire interference, then that's a little different. All right. So if the ball has, if a fielder has had an attempt to make a play, or had, is that right? Had the attempt to make a play on a ball, on a batted ball, then there's nothing. But if he hasn't, if a fielder has not had the opportunity to make a play, then we're going to have umpire interference. All right, and that's a redo, right? Oh, no, he gets first base. Yeah, batter gets first base. Yeah, correct. Yep, and yeah, if they're forced up, then they'll go back. So,
Go back to umpire interference on the plate.
okay.
So umpire interference on the plate is not an immediate dead ball. Umpire interference on the plate is not an immediate dead ball. If that catcher retires that runner at second, he's out. Okay? That's one of those ones. This is one of those ones. Don't call until you see what happens. In other words, yeah, you know he hit you and throwing down to second. Don't say anything until he doesn't retire him. Then you can call time. That's interference and put him back. But there's no need to call it until you know the result of the throw.
Spectator interference, we probably won't have this until we get into the playoffs and work at the bigger stadiums sometimes. So I won't even really, I'll skip over that. Follow-through interference is when the bat hits the catcher after the batter has swung at a pitch and hinders his action at home plate or the catcher's attempt to play on a runner. So follow-through, so he swung, R1 stealing to take second base, and he follows through and hits the catcher in the back of the head or the shoulder or whatever, then if his throw does not retire him, then we have interference, okay? Me personally, I'm going to go ahead and say that's interference, and then if his throw doesn't retire him, then we will, let's see. Yeah, then we'll call him out. Or wait, no, follow through is an out.
The batter's gonna be out.
Yeah, the batter's out, runner returns to first base. Backswing interference is when a batter contacts the catcher or his equipment prior to the time of pitch. So he's ready, pitcher's come set, and batter's doing all his number or whatever he's doing, and then he takes his bat back and hits the catcher's glove. That's an immediate dead ball. Time. All right, let's go. So it's just to give the batter time to readjust and, go back through his routine. So it doesn't, it kind of messes him up or whatever. It really doesn't, but, in case it's close to being where he's delivering the pitch, that gives him an opportunity to reset and all that kind of stuff. All right, moving on to obstruction. Obstruction is an act, intentional or unintentional, as well as physical or verbal. So, even though they didn't mean to do something and they do it, or they hinder an act, then it's still obstruction. And it's by a fielder, any member of the defensive team or its team personnel that hinders a runner or changes the pattern of play, as in 5-1-3, 8-3-2. Or when a catcher or fielder hinders a batter, as in 5-1, I don't know what those are. When obstruction occurs, the ball becomes dead at the end of playing action, and the umpire has authority to determine which base or bases shall be awarded to the runners according to the rule violated. The other one I want to go into is the fielder, without possession of the ball, denies access to the base the runner is attempting to achieve. So this goes for all bases. It's not just home plate. That's where we're going to see it a lot of times, is catchers blocking home plate, but it goes for all bases, all right? For obstruction, like I said earlier, it could be intentional or unintentional. It's going to be by the defensive team. I don't know. Y'all have any other questions or anything else you want to go over about interference or obstruction? Yeah, forced play slide rule. All right, so we have runner on first. He goes into second base. Ball's hit the shortstop. They throw it to the second baseman. He's covering. Where is the defender protected? At what? Correct. So the runner has to directly slide into the base all right, or away from the fielder. So, and the fielder is protected beyond the base as well. So if he does a pop-up slide, that's illegal. And then if he slides to outside of the bag towards the defender, then that's also illegal. And we can have interference there. Correct. Does there have to be contact with the fielder?
You slide towards that. This is one of the biggest things on one of the biggest things on force play slide rule, and I think where there were multiple instances last weekend at Mike Carter where they wanted stuff. Fielder's base is here, okay? Fielder is here, okay? My foot's on the base. I'm going back towards first now. That runner slides this direction, bang it. If he doesn't go into the base or that side, I don't care if he contacts him or not. That's a bang. That's force play slide rule. He is not allowed to slide towards that fielder, okay, at all. He's got two options. He can slide directly into the bag or away from him. He slides toward that fielder. That's a no-go, okay? The other thing, he never sent video on that one, did he? Yeah, I've seen it happen a couple of times now. I think kids are sliding late, it seems like. And I've never seen this before this season. So they're almost like diving late into the bag and not sliding prior to the bag. It's really, really weird what's happening. Yeah. So we can still have an illegal slide, okay? Where we didn't call something, I wanted to see the video because I think we still may have had an illegal slide. For a slide to be legal, there are two things that have to happen on a feet first slide. Leg and a buttocks have to be on that ground sliding prior to the bag, right? So if he's going in late to that bag and doesn't have that leg and buttocks sliding into that bag, you have an illegal slide. Even though you may not have a pop-up, because that's what this was. It was like the kid was all down here on the ground, and it's like, well, they wanted a pop-up. I'm like, well, it's definitely not a pop-up slide, but it could be an illegal slide. So that's something we need to be aware of, that they've got to have a legal slide and it has to be directly into the bag or away from the fielder. And remember, what base can this happen at? What base can this happen at? Okay. You can have force play slide at second, third, and home. Okay, home he's allowed to slide all the way through, but it's not just second base. Remember, we got runners at first and second. They go to third. You've got to be aware of that force play slide at third. Okay, ball hit to the shortstop, most likely he's going to go to third, right? Then they're going to go back to first. So you just have to be aware of that.
All right, so Stephen said to, for those of you at home, to go over force play slide rule as far as other bases other than second base. Yeah, the enforcement of it. Before I go into that, we'll continue on what Brian was talking about. So we had one, me and Carl were working, I was working the plate, and we had a play at second base, and the kid slid. He just slid late, like Brian was talking about, and he slid through the base and contacted defender on the back side of the bag. So I gave Carl first opportunity, the base umpire, first opportunity to take that. He's transitioning to first base. A lot of times he's not going to get it. So then I immediately came out, that's interference, and awarded the 2 outs. So at a play at second base, we're going to get that guy at second base that's going into, and we're going to get the batter runner. What's up, Kent? Where was I when I made the call? I was the plate umpire, but after the pitch, I saw the ground ball. I think it was a ground ball to the shortstop. So I cleared the catcher, and I just started walking out towards where the ball was going, to the shortstop, and so I could get an angle, but so the pitcher wasn't in my way. I started going that way, just taking a few steps out there, and that's when I saw it. So I could see the contact on beyond the bag. Yes, yeah. Plate guy, that's secondary. You're the secondary help on force play right slide rule at second base. Base umpire, you can get it, but like I said, a lot of times you're boom, he's out, and now you're transitioning to that close play at first base. So plate guys, don't fall asleep and don't help the guy out, and don't feel like you're stepping on his toes. But the other thing I wanted to add about it was the coach came up to me, he said, "Hey man, I know what you had. It was probably the right call, but man, we're on a turf field." I go, "Where in the rule book does it says about turf or dirt?" "Well, you got a point there." And I said, the contact happened on the back side of the bag, and therefore it hindered his throw to first base. He said, "Is that what the rule book says?" I said, "Yep." And so that's where I got that's how I got the double play. But I just wanted to reiterate that just because they're on a turf field and they slide late or whatever, that doesn't matter. So don't let that construe you from calling it. All right. If he hinders his throw from going to second base or throwing to first, then we got to get it. So to go with what Stephen was talking about, so say we have first and second, and ball's hit in the 6 hole to the shortstop. Shortstop gets it, throws the third, and the third baseman standing on the bag, and he slides through the base, and we have force play slide rule. We can get 2 outs on that, and we're always going to get the batter runner. We're not going to go get the guy going to second or anything like that. We're going to go get the batter runner. The second out is always the batter runner. Is that right? Yes, and everybody else goes back to the base at the time of pitch. Yep.
And that's going to be the hard part to explain. Because now you've got just a runner on first.
So what Brian was saying was we have first and second, and on that play, then at the end of it, after everything's done, we're going to have R2 that's at second base going to third. He's going to be out. And then we're also going to have batter runner that's going to be out. So therefore, once we get set back up, we're just going to have a runner on first base. That's if we had 0 outs. If we had 1 out, of course, we're going to the next inning. So, what's up?
Are runners required to slide, Kevin? The rule book says they're not required to slide. Okay. So I've had coaches come up, aren't they going to slide?
The question is, are the runners required to slide? No, the runners are not required to slide. The runners are required to not impede, not hinder, and slide directly into the base and not have an illegal slide.
Where they don't have to slide, they can't interfere. So if he's going to go in standing up, and then if he's standing right there in the path.
Any other questions? Well, if we have runner on second only, we don't have a force play slide rule in effect because there's no force out at third. Okay, so you have runner on second, and he interferes with him trying to retire the batter runner at first base.
Here's the situation. Runner on second, ball's hit to the shortstop, it collides with the shortstop. That pretty much, that's where you're going to see it a lot. Okay? He collides with the shortstop, who's trying to field the ball. Okay, so you have interference there, right? No. Just that runner is out. Where there's some situations where we can start grabbing additional outs, don't grab that additional out.
Go ahead. It's just interference. Yeah.
They collide, not for an illegal slide, he interfered with him fielding the ball. That fielder's protected. Remember, that fielder is protected, okay? That shortstop is protected to field that ball. You have to have actual interference at that point. You have to have actual interference. Now it goes a step beyond. Force play slide rule, we don't have to have interference. Right. But I don't know what that third baseman would be doing around third other than trying to tag him, because there's no force play there. So if he's trying to tag the bag, okay, great, nice, he's safe. Yeah, I mean, you got to tag him. But remember, fielders are protected fielding the ball. One fielder, and only one fielder, okay? You've got it. Now that fielder boots the ball, okay? I'm a shortstop. I boot the ball. Am I protected or not now? The question now is, where is the ball? Is it still within my vicinity? So we say a step and a reach. Step and a reach, as long as I'm still within a step and a reach of the ball, yes, I'm protected. Contact's going to be interference at that point. Okay, step and reach. Just think, as long as that ball's still in his vicinity to make a play on it, just because he misplays it doesn't remove interference. Okay, he still has the opportunity, as long as that ball's right there, still to make that, okay, for interference. Likewise, interference, pop-up, okay, going down first base. Got a pop fly. Who's going to catch that ball? Before, on the first base line in between first and home, pop-up. Or pitcher. So what's most likely going to happen? You're going to have two fielders there, right? Coming to catch that ball. Both of them are not protected. You can only protect one. So now the first baseman's the one fielding it. The runner runs into the pitcher. What do you have?
You're not going to protect the batter runner?
Who? Okay. I'm the first baseman. He's the pitcher. I'm here. I got it. He's standing here. Come here just a second. Okay, first base is this way. You're now running and you bump into the pitcher. What do we have? I catch the ball. Fair. That's your homework assignment.
All right, any other questions? All right, so the question was, batter runner hits the ball to right field, and he rounds first base, runs into the first baseman, and the ball's thrown into second base. So the rule book says for obstruction, when obstruction occurs, the ball becomes dead at the end of playing action, and the umpire has the authority to determine which base or bases shall be awarded the runners according to the rule violated. So therefore, we have jurisdiction over what base to put him at. And with that being said, we have to be able to guarantee that he would have made that base. So if we can guarantee, hey, he would have made second base before they would have got him out, then yeah, we're going to give him second base. If we can guarantee that he would have got third base, we'll guarantee him that he would have got third base. Okay? But be very cautious with that.
And where did your obstruction happen? Before first base, on first base, or beyond first base? Okay, did it happen before first base, on top of first base, or beyond first base? Beyond first base, okay? So, what's our rule say? Jim? Say it.
If he has obstruction past the base he was going to, he's awarded one base past the last base he legally touched. Which would have been first.
So we almost had this last night. I was close to calling it, but I didn't. We had a kickoff at first base. First baseman might have been impeding the runner's path back into first base. If I call obstruction on that play, what am I going to do with the base runner? Who thinks he gets first base? Because he was obstructed going back to first. Who thinks he gets second base? Why do you think second base? Yeah, we have to give him second base. It's a weird part of the high school rule.
That's the same as
Well, yeah, in that play, we have to give him second.
You also gotta be careful that the runner doesn't intentionally run into the field. In other words, you go running around a corner and he throws an elbow at him while trying to go to second.
That's not obstruction.
Yeah, no, that's malicious.
Depending, I mean, if he just sticks his arm out and trying to get obstruction, that's bad on him. I hope it gets thrown out.
All right, any other questions?
Let me make one statement, please. You might run into the situation where the base runner is crossing, the defensive player is coming up to make the play. So we've been told the defensive player has the first right of way. Okay? Remember that. If he kicks it, it's still within reach, he still has the first right of way. But if he moves it, goes past it, now the runner has the right of way. So that would determine whether he's going to be out in interference with the defensive player or he's obstructed. Make sense? He's the first right of way on the defensive player.
Steven, you got anything else?
If you are working the Brook Hill tournament on Thursday or Friday, you're going to schedule updates for your
Schedule updates for Brook Hill, Thursday and Friday.
Hey guys, obstruction and interference is some of the hardest stuff and some of the biggest nuances. Especially for new umpires, they're like feeling overwhelmed with that. It's gonna take a little while to learn all of that. It's the toughest stuff of some of what we call.
All right, we'll see y'all in 2 weeks.